Welcome to Shoponomics, brought to you by eMarketed, a digital agency working with small business that drives leads and revenue. On this show, you'll learn from experts with a combined 40 years of experience in selling online how to master the art of e-commerce. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Ramage and Daniel Solomon.
All right, folks, got a great guest today. His name is Sully Tyler, and I was actually calling him Tyler before, but it's Sully. So Sully is his first name, and he's got a lot of experience in the e-commerce industry and has actually built up a D2C brand and sold it. So we look forward to hearing about that. And he works with a lot of expert marketers. And so welcome to the show, Sully.
Welcome.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, awesome. I definitely going through your site and learned a lot about you. And would love to have you tell us more about yourself, if you can give us a little experience on your e-commerce background.
Yeah, I'm like the old man in the space. I feel like I started in 2012, total accidental entrepreneur. I was trying to compete in the home run derby of golf. So you hit golf ball as hard as you can, as far as you can. And during that process, I was not very good, but I had fun doing it. I was hitting drives about 360 yards. There was other golfers hitting them 450 though. So it was, I went to a couple competitions, won a couple locals, and thought I was cool. But in that process, so I started to break golf clubs, and it wasn't from my pure power, which I wish it was, but and my muscles, but a local club builder was assembling them wrong. And it's not a complicated process, but I learned it and just started assembling clubs myself because I was too broke to keep breaking drivers. And I made the world's worst website in 2012. It was much harder to make a website back then.
What were you using?
Intuit or something that is so obscure it doesn't exist now.
Okay.
I ended up moving from that to Volusion to BigCommerce, then Shopify. So many moves in 10 years. But so during that process, though, I made a website. It was awful. It had like cartoon characters flexing with golf clubs. And my wife and her coworkers would make fun of it at work as a break. They're like, what is this guy doing? It had like flashing for sale signs. But then one day, not on version 650 of the site, it was like 6 months in, I sold something, and I sold it when I was on my boat on Lake Champlain in Vermont. And it was, we have a 20-foot like used, what was it? It was a Regal. It was a cool boat. And, but I got a sale on that boat, and I think we lost money on that sale. I think it was a club shipping to like Ireland. But
it was more than a club.
Oh, 100%. But it was the first epiphany of like, oh my God, I sold something when I wasn't at work, working for someone else. I was on a boat. So that was like, my first moment of traction, so I just got obsessed. And, my whole story is just moments of traction and following it. Mm-hmm. So then from there, I had this crazy idea to design my own golf club. And I was having beers with a frat brother of mine from college. And I was like, hey, I really want to design my own golf club. He's like, you're not that smart. And I was like, well, tell me how you really feel. And so he's like, why don't you call the University of Vermont, where you barely graduated, and see if you can, they'll have design a golf club for you. I said, that's an interesting idea. It's like really basic stuff, asking questions, telling people what I was doing. And I cashed in my 401k and had like 50 units made. And because I was documenting on Facebook, I sold not a lot, but it was like $10,000 worth. And I was like, okay, let's do more of that. And really from there, we figured out Facebook ads, and, we scaled to, right under 10 million. And I was able to delegate and work, 4 hours a week before I sold it, because I had 2 kids in the meantime. But that's kind of how I got into it. And there's a million things that happened in 10 years, but I was able to scale it after early traction with paid traffic and exit for a lot of money. So I'm living the dream now.
Awesome. Yeah, we could probably, the whole episode could be about that story. I guess there's definitely some questions within that. So how many years ago did you exit?
It was this year. It's February. So I'm
Okay.
still CEO or working, but just as an employee or consultant. And that was part of the deal. And, we had like 6 offers, and I thought that was the interesting part. And one of the reasons I sold to them is I thought we would get along well post-sale. But, I've mentally been able to unhinge, which took me a long time, because after 10 years of, although I wasn't working a lot day to day, I mean, I was literally working 3 to 4 hours a month, because I've, outsourced to all my experts. So like when you're asking me in the email, like, hey, what's your Klaviyo setup? I haven't opened up Klaviyo in years, because I have people that are much smarter than I that do all that. I just drive high level strategy. So yeah, it's I'm not in the business much anymore.
So when you made that first sale back all those years ago, did you ever find out how that person found your site, the one with all the graphics on it?
I think I was in I really guerrilla marketed it back then. Like I was doing forums. I was like in forums talking to people, saw every post I had. So the engagement was just absolutely insane. And I remember, I think it was 2016 when Facebook throttled business pages, because I think we lost that year just from organic sales, like $600,000, I think, when we broke down the math to. Because before, you could post a link to your website and say, hey, new product, or hey, this, whatever, and offer sales and tell people, and Facebook wouldn't throttle you, and the reach was crazy. We had like one live video I did. We had at one point I sent an email saying, hey, we're going live, and we had 10,000 people watching live.
Okay.
It was crazy. So I really just rode the early organic wave and transitioned that organic momentum into paid. That was really, it was just good timing and kind of seeing where people were engaging. And like, to go a little further with that, in 2013, like I just hit things early. So like Facebook video first came out, I said, all right, I'll do video. So I made a video where I hit a golf ball into my backyard, and I said, does your driver sound like this? And boosted it for like $300, and we got 300,000 views, 10,000 comments.
Okay.
And I just commented on every comment on my BlackBerry until my thumbs were like bleeding. So it's just these moments in time of like, wow, this is cool. I'm getting a lot of action. Let's do more of that. So as things change, we kind of adapt.
At that point, was it just you who was responding to all that, or did you have other people on your team, or like how much workload was that?
Good question. So when I first started, and it took me 2 kids and 8 years to delegate to truly working like no hours. But at first, I worked every hour I was awake. I was working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that was with a newborn that I just had. So it was an unhealthy setup, but that year I was fired from my day job when we were expecting. So I don't recommend doing that. And yes, I did everything in the business, from making the content, assembling the clubs in my basement, shipping them. I mean, I remember how proud I was of how many golf clubs I could hold from my car to the post office. Now I haven't seen a golf club in 4 years. You know what I mean? It's just, it's crazy,
And how did you start the transition from doing everything, working 20 hours a day to delegating? Like, what was that transition like?
Slowly and painfully. I wish I could say I was like, yeah, I saw the light and just did it. But like the first thing was, things just kept breaking. Not clubs, but just like things. So like, for example, I remember at one point I physically could not keep up with the club orders. Like I could not assemble fast enough. I couldn't ship fast enough. And at that point I baby stepped a lot of things because I wanted control. So a lot of what I did earlier was ego driven because it's my baby, and I should have outsourced quicker, but you could have told me to outsource. I would have said, no one can do it as good as I can,
Right.
So things had to break, and it was slow. So I first outsourced assembling, and that helped. And then I outsourced customer service, and that helped. Then now I got to a point where I outsourced paid traffic, email. We have a 3PL. Everything comes barcoded in container ships. So to do it, I think it's tough because it's not just like you could have told me to do that, but I wasn't mentally mature enough to believe you, you know? So I think it depends on your business and your life of how you want to do it. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, do things themselves for too long. And now, like, I have 2 other companies. Now I'm almost the opposite. We're like, Jesus, I have to do something. This is, I can't even do it. And it's almost to a fault. So now I have to like, be like, okay, you still need to do it till it gets traction and then delegate it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I see that site. So it's bombtechgolf.com. It looks like it ranks looks like we're seeing it ranking for over 20,000 keywords organically. Were you doing SEO from the very beginning, or is that something?
So we have an SEO agency. Yep.
Great. Okay. How long have you been doing SEO now?
I mean, SEO is actually a new love of mine. Before it was one of these things where we just paid to have someone do with really no, what's the word? I didn't really look at it as a revenue driver. You know, I mean, for us, it's at the Ecom brand, it's always been paid traffic and email. Those are like our 2 core pillars. Like, cause we spend, you know, in season, we spend 30K in a day, you know, and like, so off season, it's a couple thousand a day. And, you know, so we spent millions and millions on Facebook and Google, and then it's really email and our ability to do product launches and get repeat orders. Those are the 2 pillars. SEO, in my opinion, for Ecom is like a nice to have. But now I have a blog as one of my side projects, sullytyler.com. And I essentially am learning SEO from scratch with the only intention of growing it organically and driving, monetizing with agency referrals. And then I will do ads. So I've got 106 blog posts. I've written, I think, 5 of those. And now I'm learning SEO from that angle. So SEO is, it's a new thing that I'm learning, but it wasn't a big belief at the Ecom brand.
When you mentioned doing both Facebook and Google, was there a certain balance there as far as percentages, 50-50 or 30-70, or what?
Yeah,
did you find a sweet spot?
We've definitely,
or did that change?
Yeah, we've skewed much more towards Google now. We used to be like 90-10 Facebook to Google. And then over the years, as Facebook has gotten, you know, more difficult, more expensive, all the things, you know, we all know, it's gone 50-50. So, you know, we got Facebook, Google, then we have some like testing platforms on TikTok. And then we have like a Facebook group, you know, just for owners that we use. But yeah, those 2 channels have been the core forever. And it kind of, I leave it up to the ad guys to determine the budget. And the one thing I will say that determines where we spend is, you know, attribution's harder than ever. So we use MER, which is just a marketing efficiency ratio metric. So we just spend X per day and we want to get Y, right? So we are not as tactical or surgical as we used to be, where you could spend this much on Facebook and get this, you know, the old days where you could spend $1 and get 6 back with the world's worst ad. I wish I had more clubs back then. I didn't have enough inventory, you know, and but you know, those days are kind of gone, and we're, you know, this is 10 years deep. So we're a much different company and more mature at this point. Not me, but the brand.
Yep.
You know?
Are you using any special reporting tools to kind of track the attribution, or?
So my ad guy is using Triple Whale.
Okay. Yeah. We've used them before.
Yeah. They featured me on one of their blogs, but yeah, so they're how we're doing attribution, but I mostly just look at P&L at this point and just like the reports by agency, you know, on a monthly manner. It's like, unless there's a big fire or something, it's just like, okay, how are things looking? Why are they what they are? And then, you know, a lot of P&L discussions.
Okay. Got it. Well, let's switch a little gears now. So see, and it wasn't quite clear to me, but I guess on your blog, it looks like you've got something where it talks about you can steal your marketers. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so the blog is a work in progress for sure. A new testing ground for my thoughts after post sale. So yeah, I was editing this page this morning actually. So yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things like in the business, like when BombTech first kind of took off, you know, Klaviyo did a case study, BigCommerce did a case study, Entrepreneur. So I started to get a lot of messages of like, hey, can you help me with my business? And I was like, no, I can't. I don't want to. And as that kept happening, I launched an agency actually with my first employee, Chris, who does all my email. That's called Ecom Growers, and that's an email marketing agency. We've got about 35 clients. We do all their email and SMS, and that's been around since 2017. And that just came because we kept on having people like, dude, you're killing it. Can you help me? And he came to me, and he was my best employee, first employee, like literally would do anything for me. And when people started asking me for help and I said no, he said, hey, can I help them? And I said, sure. So he went about and closed 3 deals for email. And I said, let me know how it goes. As long as it doesn't interfere with your day job, go for it, dude. I empower you to do it. And he closed 3 deals and doubled their email revenue in a month. I said, oh, that's good. So I said, what do you want to do? And essentially him and I sat down, made a business plan. And he said he wanted to take it full time. And from there, we're 50-50 partners. And I just empower and help him any way I can to get him leads for the agency. So we do, it's all the email and SMS, which is cool. And then the blog came about as just another channel for because people ask me all the time, who does your Facebook ads? Who does your Google ads? Who does your website? Who does your CRO? So the goal of the blog is just to talk about those things, do podcasts, and kind of if someone wants to use my marketers, I get a referral fee to do that. And that is truly my skill set I've acquired. It's not me or what I've learned. It's like my team, my outsourced experts. And I just hand off people that I think are a good fit to them and let them run with it. Because hiring and firing an agency is so frustrating. And I wouldn't say I'm the number one most hired and fired agencies on record, but I got to be close.
You mean that you've hired and fired a bunch?
I mean, I have to be over 25 agencies in 10 years minimum.
Okay.
Hiring and firing, and it's just there's so many agencies out there because the barrier to entry is none. So anyone can start one, and it's tough to find true experts.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, maybe speak to that a little more. What do you, when you fired him, can you give us some stories?
Yeah, I'll give you many. So I'll give you, this is probably the most beneficial story of learning. So, I empower anyone that runs a business to know how to do everything well in their own business so they can hire and fire properly. So in 2014, I hired my first Facebook guy. Well, there was 5 agencies to find the real one that was good because I was running ads myself and I was awful, but still getting a 3X, right? So at that time I was hiring, I hired an agency and they would just plummet the ROAS to 0, and had no idea what they were doing, making graphics that made no sense. And I just said, wow, this is crazy. And then I found one guy in particular who I send leads to still, and he literally tripled our sales in I don't know, it was 2 months. It was nuts. But after 3 years of working with him, we had, it was January. That's our off season for golf. And I was like, dude, you got all these clients now. You're really not that motivated. And we had a down month, our first one ever, because it's an off season. And I just assumed he wasn't working hard. But in reality, we had a 6.6 ROAS and it was just winter. And so I fired him because I didn't know enough and it was out of the weeds too much. And that year was probably the hardest year in the business because I went through, that was the year of reckoning where I hired and fired everyone. And it took me, that year straight up took me 12 experts I went through. And I ended up developing a process for vetting specifically ad agencies. So what I do, I don't have to do this anymore, but what I would do is, because I hired and fired and you get a retainer and then you find out they suck in 6 weeks and you waste all this time and money, is I invited them to beat me on a Facebook ad test. So I would pay them for a 1-hour screen share. I said, listen, you're an expert. I challenge you. If you can beat my ROAS, you win. So I'd pay them whatever their hourly fee is. And I'd say, listen, I'll sit you down. We'll do a Zoom screen share, but I want you to tell me what to click on Facebook. What buttons do I click? How do I do this? We'll build one ad with your guidance. And if you beat me, you're hired. And I did that so many times with these guys that claim they're so good and their ads made no sense. There was no theory behind it and they bombed. and didn't beat me until my final ad expert that he actually had theory and beat me. He's been the guy I've been with this whole time since then. That's 4 years now.
Wow, I love it. That's a lot of pressure. I mean,
game on, dude. Let's go.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. So I guess, let's say you're sitting down with a CEO of, let's say, a $50 million D2C brand and trying to sell them on Ecom growers. Can you pitch us? And let's say the industry is the beauty industry.
Yeah, I mean, so like this is a perfect example. So the same concept I use in my vetting is how we do what we do for someone else. We just show them. So, and we'll just do it. So instead of, there's no dog and pony show. It's just like, okay, give us access to your account. We'll show you how to do it. If you like what we do, we just say, you can take what we've done and you can do it yourself, or we'll do it for you. It's like that. The simplest things are what work, and we just do it. So instead of just, here's our 55-page deck of bullshit that has zero impact, we'll just do it for you and make a video, a loom of it. And if you like it, cool. It's that easy.
Okay. Wow. I love it.
All action. No BS.
Yep. And are you, I guess, like within that scenario, or let's say we want to hire you, are you handling all the creative? Are you getting everything from them, or how do you handle creative?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't do anything in the day-to-day business. All I do is high-level strategy.
Yeah.
Like strategy-wise for the email and SMS agency, I can speak to that.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you're deep in the weeds, it's hard to understand where my head's at because I'm just an owner at this point with everything. So I know enough, but I'm not pulling the levers, hitting the buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I can't find my Klaviyo login, but so like from a strategy though, it's very simple. We believe in high engagement, conversational, founder based emails. Like that's it. So like for Bomb Tech, because I still approve those emails. That's one thing I do at a high level. It's like I'll just say, okay, this looks cool. That makes sense. For like a new product, this is an easy example, and I hate tactics. So I'm like, this tactic will not work if you haven't been doing this and have this overall strategy of conversational email. So it's like, you can't just pull a tactic and expect it to work if you don't have the overall strategy. And strategy is where I come in. So let's say we're launching 2 new clubs or 2 new skis or whatever we're doing. I have a ski brand I was going to launch, but I'm not doing that for other reasons. But we would just ask our email list, like, hey, we're thinking of launching, a 64-degree wedge or a chipper, A versus B. What do you guys think? What would you like? And, 99% of the time, it's the opposite product that I think is going to do well. Mm-hmm. It's a plain text email of like, hey, this is what we're thinking of coming out with. Just let us reply back with A for this product, B for this product. Let us know. From Sully, like with a person attached to it. And those emails get like insane amount of replies, which they tag in Klaviyo as like engaged. And then, so not only like, does that get them from the promotions tab to the inbox, which is tactic, but it also gets the customer to feel like they're building the brand with you. So like that at the high level is like why I hate tactics and how would you do this? It's like, well, our high level strategy is conversational email from founders. And if you don't believe in that and have that tone of voice, none of these tactics work, So like, we'll do that. And then we'll do real empathetic thank you emails because I do care about customers. And the last part is if you can do these things, but if you don't have excellent, real customer service, it won't work, and that's, the only 2 employees I have at Bomb Tech are customer service guys. And that's because I believe that's the most important thing you can do to build a real brand that has word of mouth is you take care of people. And they're the reason we can actually have 6,000 people reply and have real conversations with them. And I think a lot of people totally miss the boat with email and just look at it as revenue channel and don't give a shit if people reply and don't pay for good support. And that's the true difference. That's my only in-house people.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. So many gems there. Thanks, Sully. Awesome. Well, man, that flew by quick. So our last kind of section is we're just going to ask kind of some quick questions and yes, no, short kind of answers. I'll take the first one and then Daniel will jump in. Any mentors that you've had that have inspired you before or currently?
I wish I could say yes, but we were kind of the first to do D2C golf. So I always look for someone to help me. I mean, my parents, were both entrepreneurs, but, they were owning restaurants and jewelry stores. So they showed me that you don't have to take the normal path. I didn't think I was going to do that, but I think they, at least watching them, thought it was possible. I didn't want to own a diner, but they did a great job with it and showed me, and I knew I wasn't cut out for working. I was fired, 10 years ago. So
Nice.
How long have you had the beard?
Oh God, 20 years.
20 years. Nice.
20 years. Yeah. Getting old.
Now you're getting old when they're gray like this, man.
I got some.
You got some?
I'm not there yet, but kids are pushing me close.
That's right. What's your favorite time of day to golf?
I usually tee off around 10 o'clock. That's when I get the kids dropped off at school. I'll check in at work for 30 minutes, see what's up, and then get to the course. And that gives me enough time to play 18 and still pick up the kids if I need,
Okay. Awesome.
Google or Apple?
Apple.
All right.
Favorite social media platform?
I'm Facebook, ride or die.
Okay. OG.
Yeah, OG. I'm old, dude, and I can't. I have a tough time changing.
Streaming or big screen?
Big screen.
Awesome. Favorite golf club that isn't Bomb Tech?
Can't say.
Good answer.
Let's see. Favorite socks?
I don't even think I wear socks. I don't have any.
Oh, nice.
Ski socks I wear. Yeah.
Ski socks.
Favorite coffee? Our favorite coffee place where you live. We forgot to ask that. Where do you live, Sully?
Vermont. So it's
Vermont.
I'm freezing all the time between skiing and hockey with my son. It's like, I'm drinking lots of coffee. I do Panera, which is like,
yeah.
It's all right. I just got one today, so it's good enough. I think what do I do now? Black with a half sugar.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Well, Sully, tell everyone how they can. We'll have show links in the notes. So thank you so much for your day. Tell us where everyone can find you.
Yeah. If anyone wants to check me out, I'm on Twitter now, which is new. Trying to figure that game out.
That's where I found you.
I know it's no Facebook, dude. So I'm a slow learner. So I'm starting to get my feet wet there on Twitter. I think it's at the Sully Tyler, at the blog at sullytyler.com, or if you're an Ecom brand, check us out at ecomgrowers.com, and looking forward to connecting.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Sully. It's been a great fun.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in to Shoponomics, brought to you by eMarketed. Please make sure to share with your friends and rate us on your favorite podcast player. If you listened to the show today, make sure you watch the show next time on Spotify or YouTube. If you'd like to be on the show, please send us a DM on Twitter @_Shoponomics. And to learn more about growing your business, visit emarketed.com. Until next time.